If I'm setting up the studio by myself, I'll come in, unlock the door, light some candles normally, turn the lights on, get some music playing. We have a front desk person who works here. Jetta is here this morning. She's always here on Wednesdays. And that's pretty much it. Then we wait for people to get here. Then we just kind of walk them through what they need, get them checked in, and then start class. I just love the morning crew too. I feel like we're all just in it together. As cliche as that sounds, it's like we are a team because we're like 6 o'clock. Everyone got up at like 5:30, even earlier to get here, and we're just grinding in there. People always say that the studio, they refer to coming back out as coming back into real life. I don't know if you watch the show Severance, but they have like, they call them innies and outies. So it's like when you're in your work, out of your work. And that's similar to how it felt when someone said that. They were like, yeah, when I go back out into real life. And I'm like, you're like also in real life when you're in there. But I just love the separation that people give themselves. So I always try to acknowledge it. Like, just let yourself have this space because it energizes you to then, walk out. I was just meeting with my ops manager last night, Jenny, and she was like, you're basically on 23/7. She's like, you need 1 hour for a little nap. And I'm like, yeah. So I think just shifting the mindset to recognize, accept, and understand that I do work all the time. And I'm chill with that now, and it's also because it's my business. So I'm like, how dope is it that I get to work all the time here for myself, like seeing everything come to life, be there. That's what I want to do. So I think that's part of what pushed me to also be an entrepreneur, is that in any job, I always wanted to be the person who could show up for other people and be there when someone else might not be able to be. So I really got to tap into that here. The history of me. Okay. Grew up in Sullivan and just rural, like small town Wisconsin. And I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew that I just wanted to step into something a little bit more. I'd never traveled, like never been on a plane, never anything until I was 17. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to join the Air Force. I did that when I was 17, and then left right after high school graduation, and then served. So you serve like active duty for those months that you're training and, enlisting and going to basic training, tech school, yada, yada, yada. And then I came back and belonged to the Air Refueling Wing in Milwaukee. So I was stationed in Milwaukee, and then would have to serve 1 weekend a month, and then, multiple little stints like throughout the year. So that's where I'd go to like Montana, Georgia, Arizona, California, and just do like training. And then I got into fitness right away in the military. So my job was services or combat support, and like fitness readiness or PTL training was part of that. Then I went to Arizona, got my PTL certificate, which is physical training leader, and you can only get that cert in the military. So that was kind of cool because it's like no one else can just kind of walk around with that certification on how to teach people that readiness, like not just exercising to like feel good, look good, all the things like mental health, things like that. Yes, that all went into it, but I was preparing people to just like live their everyday lives in the best shape that they possibly can be, and then ultimately to like go to war, which seems like silly, but that's what it was for. That time in Arizona was beautiful. I still talk about it all the time. It was so fun, and that's just like one example of the growth that you get to experience in the military. Is they took me, like I was 18, plopped me in to Arizona for a month all by myself. I wasn't with like anyone from Milwaukee, anyone from my unit, and met all these strangers who were from all around the world, like different bases. And then we all just got to work together for a month, and they became some of my closest friends. So I got to do that a ton of other times in a ton of other places. So that also sparked my love for group fitness and like community-based fitness, because I would have not enjoyed that experience if I was not with people who, were excited to be there. The military started then, and then it kind of followed me. I mean, I signed on for 6 years. I didn't have a choice. So even when things got a little rocky and I ultimately ended up deciding to separate. I had to hang on for those 6 years, and I was out when I was 23, and then I started Sevven just under 2 years later and did like college, instructing, 2 full-time jobs, various part-time jobs, all at the same time as the Air Force. So it kind of just like walked alongside me for the 6 years of my life. I went to UW-Whitewater and I studied biology with an emphasis in environmental studies, ecology, evolution, and behavior. So I love studying animals and plants and their patterns and their ways in the world. So my junior and senior year, I worked for the UW Sustainability Office, and that was my home. Like, the Sustainability Office really showed me what I wanted to do, and I didn't have any of that before I found a student organization. So it started with SAGE, Students Allied for a Greener Earth. So just like students kind of banding together for like sustainability practices, environmental activist practices, and then I became an e-board. And then I'm like, wait a second, I really like this. And then they introduced me to the sustainability office, and I got my internship there my junior year. And then I interned there and did digital marketing for a while, loved like the social media, the people side of things. And then once COVID hit, some of the interns were from out of state or, didn't have like the security of being able to just stay in Whitewater, and I did. So then I took over the campus garden with Wes and then one of my other peers, Cam and Ashley. And I worked in a garden all summer. It was dope. That ignited my passion for gardening and plants. And then I ended up knowing I wanted to go into horticulture, and then worked as a horticulture technician for UW-Madison when I graduated. And then obviously I was instructing for Cycle Bar for 6.5 years. So right when I joined the military, I found that front desk role, and then front desk to instructor pipeline led me to where I am. So yeah, weird pipeline, but like, I don't know. This pattern continued to show me in my professional development that like I'm gonna learn all these random skills, and I just love it. Like, I love learning new things, even if it's not what I envision myself doing. I think that having that spirit is ultimately what brought me to being an entrepreneur, because you have to pick up little things, like random stuff that I never thought I would have to learn. And I just kind of run into it. Like, as soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm like, okay, let's learn how to do this, because all those jobs, threw various things at me. Yeah, I would say Air Force, just overall tenacity, diligence, like all of the really hard, shitty things in life, learning those lessons. I mean, there were great things, like they allowed me to step into my role as like a young leader, and they gave me my education that, there's things I'm indebted to in terms of that. But they also taught me like, yeah, shit's hard. So you just have to do it and do your best. And then obviously with instructing, I instruct here, I work front desk here, I do sales here. So all those things kind of come together. UW sustainability, yes, because Sevven runs a lot of environmentally friendly or conscious initiatives, I guess you could call them. So one of our core values is sustainability. Everything we do, we're going to have a thought of like, all right, what's the impact here? How is it going to impact the local community? How is it going to impact the environment? UW, just overall professionalism. It was my first job out of college, so I just got to like dip my toe in what that was like. And then I did work in sales from the time I left UW to before I started Sevven. When you're in college, or even like any transitional phase of life, and you're more of like a type A, higher performer, you tend to grab on to a lot of things, like whether they're jobs, hobbies, commitments, volunteering. You need to focus your energy as equally as you can in all those things that you do. So to not let certain things slip because you're like, oh, well, I feel more passionate about this and I feel more passionate about that. Yes, you should follow it and like let it lead you. But all those things that you grab onto, you're doing it for a reason, so show up in those spaces. For people who are exploring those things or not knowing like what to do, just looking at those patterns and like those jobs and how they make you feel. Not saying it's going to tell you should start a business or like you should work for yourself, but it will tell you something. Like maybe you need a non-traditional job. Maybe you want to work in the service industry for a couple years. Maybe you want to work in an office job. Maybe you want to be a nurse and work third shift. Like, lean into those tendencies that you've seen yourself go through. Continue to try things and try them well. Like, people say try things, so it's like, that doesn't mean, jump from thing to thing all the time. You really have to give it your all if you're going to try something. It can't just be like a short stint, or, I mean, it can be, but I would recommend it not be like a short stint or just like something that you lightly go into. Like, if you're wanting to figure this out, like, go balls to the walls in everything that you do and then just see what sticks. And after college, they tell you, like, find a good job, stay in it, move to a city, do this, do that. And I did that. It just wasn't for me. And I feel like there's so many people around me, or people who go through that stage of life when they graduate college and they don't know what the hell to do. So why are we telling them? Or why are we telling ourselves like a narrative that isn't true to us? Like, think about if post grad you focus that energy that you've been, like, not neglecting, but that you've been dividing amongst so many things for so long. Like, imagine that powerhouse that's going to happen when you focus that all on one thing. And I believe Sevven is the outcome of that. Scott is like, he's the one that really set me off with starting my own business. He asked me, how are you doing? We were out to dinner one night. He's like, how are you doing? What's up? His 2 kids are my best friend. Been friends with them since, I don't know, middle school. So I've known Scott for over a decade. And we were out to dinner, and he was just asking me about my life, like where I was at. And that was when I was at my corporate job. And I just hit a wall. I wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't really taking care of my passions and like things that made me excited. I was very like, I don't know, the energy just kind of sucked for me, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't have a lot of spark, and that's something that I always had. So he was like, what's going on here? And I'm like, nothing. I'm just, working corporate America, like grind, da 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 da. And he's one of those people where he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, is this a trick question? I don't know. And I was like, I'm not sure. And he's like, well, you're still instructing at the cycling studio or whatever. I'm like, yes, of course. Like, that, is something I'll always do. And he's like, have you ever thought about doing more with that? And I said, no, honestly, no one's ever asked me that question. So I'm like, no. And he's like, And then we probe back and forth a little bit more. And then, we go on with dinner or whatever. And right as we're about to leave, we said saying goodbyes, hugging. And he's like, just remember, Gabby, never settle. And I'm like, shit, here we go. And then after that, we kept talking about it. And the universe always has a funny way of doing things. And it just presented some opportunities, and just so many random things fell out of the sky where I was like, well, I can't let go of this now. And then I always say, like, that one comment, like the never settle, just sparked, the next year and a half of founding Sevven. And then January of 2024, I came back to him and said, okay, I've decided I want to start my own brand. Here's my business idea. Here's my name. Here's my business model. And he said, cool. And then I found my other investor, Dave, and we just went running. I did a naming workshop with Marcel, who's our graphic designer, who helped me design our logo, our word mark, and a few other graphics that Sevven carries with us. It's like, I need help. I am having the hardest time, and I know this name is going to stick with us forever. And that had a lot of pressure on it for me. And I'm like, oh my God, this has to be, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something that can have a legacy and be carried on and be strong and stand on its own without me. She was like, okay, grab your favorite book. Marcella's very, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but she's very like, tap into the things around you, and what you'll need will start coming to you and calling your name. So I opened my favorite book, The Book of Joy. It's about the Dalai Lama and the Desmond Tutu, 2 opposing forces in religion. They spend like a week together, and they drop all these little nuggets and just like life lessons. And that book stands out to me too, because it's like 2 people with very disagreeing ideologies, or like very disagreeing paths in life, can still find some common ground, and there's like such light in that type of creation. So inside of the Book of Joy is Tonglen, which I have tattooed on my arm. Like, let me show you guys. And Tonglen is a Tibetan practice. It's like a meditation. So you breathe in the pain of the world and someone else is suffering, and then you exhale relief and you give what they need to them. It just focuses a lot on connecting humanity in ways that we do not prioritize here. I feel so strongly about the fact that we do not connect with humans in the way that we should in our Western culture. So I just thought that concept was super interesting. And so Marcel was like, okay, tell me more. And I'm like, okay, let's open the book. So then I opened the book to Tonglen and we kind of talked through that. And the word seven just kept coming out, the sevenfold analysis, or like the numerology behind the number seven itself. And the sevenfold analysis talks about the connection between mind, body, and soul, and that all three have to be in balance for us to exist, I guess, like cohesively on this planet, or happily, however you want to put it. And that, as soon as I said that, we both were like, seven. And we were just sitting there like, seven, seven, seven. Okay, let's call it. And then I said, can I call it seven? And she's like, you can call it whatever you want. And then the double V's just really foot stomp on that connection between mind, body, and soul. And then in our logo, you'll see that the logo itself really insinuates like the mind, body, soul, mind, body, soul. It's very triangular. And then you'll see that everyone sees it differently, but the inside seven is white, the outside seven is black. So it's the balance between the negative and positive pieces of our lives, of humanity, of everything around us. There's going to be positives and negatives of seven. There's going to be positives and negatives of every person that walks in here, and same with in our rides too. Yeah, we built in all those core values and that word and that mindset and the concept of Tonglen sevenfold analysis into our name. Like, there's just so much going on in like Seven's lives, and like the people here, I'm just like seeing them spread their wings, and it's making me feel emotional because I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine Seven without anyone, and like it's staying exactly as it is, but it's not going to do that. So I feel really proud and happy. I feel scared, but I just know that like Seven's going to become something way bigger than I imagined. Like I feel that every single day. It's terrifying to like put your passions and like yourself out into the world, because something we all struggle with is like the imposter syndrome piece of, what am I doing? Like, am I qualified to be doing this? No one's qualified to be doing anything. We just do it anyways. But also putting myself out there is challenging for me, because not that I let the opinions or perceptions of other people get into like my space or Seven space, but it's just the reality of like when you create something and put it out there, you then open it up for people to assume things and have negative opinions and just ultimately target you for doing something that you love. The question of, what if it fails? I don't think about that ever. I don't care. The answer to that is I don't care. Like I have a healthy fear of failing so that I don't let myself fail, but I don't think about that question. Like if someone were to say, what would happen if Seven failed? I literally have no idea, because I've not spent a second thinking about that, And then the last thing I think I'll say about creating Seven and opening it up is, and why I felt emotional, is like the people that it's already touched and like the stories that they've shared with me and the places that they've been at in their lives, and they're now here with other people who have similar backgrounds or have had similar experiences or vastly different. We're all in the same space. I just think the world needs more of that, and it's been super eye-opening and rewarding to see Seven bring some of that to life. And it just I don't know, it just means a lot to me. People share a lot of really kind words and a lot of vulnerable thoughts and a lot of vulnerable places of their life with me and with the other people in this space, like our staff, our instructors, our front desk. And then for them to tell me those things too, I'm like, holy shit, like we are doing something here. And it just feels huge. I think a big part of it is the atmosphere and like the feeling that people have when they're here. And energy is a word that obviously we use often, and it can mean so many things, and it can also mean nothing. So I think the fact that we bring the intention of that word here, like an intention is an internal goal or internal feeling, not goal, internal feeling. And a lot of people confuse the definition of like an intention versus a goal. Like An intention is something you feel, what you want inside of your body. A goal is what you want to do outside of your body, and Seven does both. You come here, you set intentions, you come here, you also set goals. You get to see them work together, and then you're encouraged by all of these people who have like a similar feeling and a similar vibe around you. And then the people that you surround yourself with and the people that are in this space, like they make the fitness part important, but without them, I don't believe that like you'd find that I would find as much importance in this space. I talk about it with like instructors, staff, like whenever front desk are here riding or instructors are here taking other instructors' classes, it just like feels different. Like you have this collective group of people supporting you that it's like a normal job where like you go to an internship or a job or a class and you like form this little group of people and you know you can rely on them, like they're looking out for you, but here it feels different. I go off the deep end, I'm like, I would die for these people. I maybe would. I mean, I would just do anything for like members, random riders, front desk, instructors. It doesn't matter to me. Like the fact that people are coming here willing to show up, willing to try something new, like I feel such like a sense of alliance in that. So I think that Seven is magical in the sense that every person that we've hired, I'm like, whoa, I can't imagine my life or Seven without them here. And then same with the members. There's just like these weird coincidences, or like I say magic, where like a member comes and they, you know, hit their 50th class and I'm like, damn, I cannot imagine a class without you in it. Like they make it this little magic experience. And I always thought the people who answered and said like, I don't have work-life balance, like you work whenever you want to because you're doing what you love. And I'm like, and now here I am today, I'm like, yeah, you work all the time when you do what you love, and I love it. Love it.